The Urban Con Artist, The Best of Your Knowledge, written by Jason Stewart, narrated by Benker. Chapter 1, The Unexpected Cellmate. April 2010 in Oakland, California. Alex stood tall and strong, his sculpted features catching the light with irresistible beauty. His keen eyes, the color of smoky amber, examined the crowded street with a hint of interest. Leaning against a gray wall, he emanated mystery, a compelling aura that made pedestrians inquisitive, yet cautious to approach. He took a nonchalant puff on his cigarette, emitting a cloud of smoke that blended with the metropolitan pandemonium, as if he possessed a secret that only the city could reveal. Then he was drawn to a woman. That was the task he'd set himself for today. The purse she was carrying had to be his, by no means necessary. He noticed the woman strolling across the street with her purse dangling from her arm. Alex's pulse hammered in his chest. Desperation tugged at him, compelling him to take a risk. He moved forward, his fingertips brushing across the handbag strap. But the woman's piercing scream cut him off in his tracks. "Oh, mercy me!" she yelled, clearly not from this part of town. "Thief!" she said, drawing the attention of onlookers to him. Panic spread like wildfire through the crowded street, heightening the gravity of the situation. Alex's thoughts raced as he faced a split-second decision. Carry out his ill-fated plan, or quit it and face the consequences. The woman's call for help rang across the commotion, drawing the attention of neighboring people. They came to a halt, their expressions a combination of amazement and alarm. Alex's heart raced, his hands quivering as he tightened his grip on the stolen purse, caught between survival instincts and the weight of his deeds. "Oh, what have I gotten myself into?" he wondered as he sought to plan his next move. Alex surged ahead, his legs pounding frantically as he went along McDavid Street. The air was filled with a cacophony of automobile horns, startled yells, and the screaming sirens of approaching police cars. His thoughts went into overdrive, concentrated entirely on escaping arrest. The sound of police sirens grew louder behind him, cutting through the city's tumultuous symphony. He cast a brief peek behind him and felt a knot tighten in his stomach. The street was lit by flashing blue and red lights, suggesting the relentless chase that was gaining pace. "Stop! Police!" yelled a voice over the loudspeaker, escalating Alex's terror. As he maneuvered through the mob, his breath came out in ragged gasps, narrowly avoiding clashes with others. His pulse pounded against his ribcage and perspiration beads streamed down his brow, blinding his vision. Alex glimpsed an alleyway ahead of him as he sped through the urban jungle. He dashed into its small confines, hoping to lose the cops in its labyrinthine twists and turns. The sound of his own footsteps bounced off the walls, intensifying the hunt. "Spread out! Don't let him get away!" a commanding voice yelled, as heavy feet filled the alleyway behind him. Alex's thoughts raced, anxious for an escape scheme, a method to outmaneuver his pursuers. He navigated the maze-like passageways, his body pushed to its limits, corner after corner. His will to survive outweighed the shame that gnawed at his conscience. He'd become a predator in a concrete jungle, pursued by those who represented order and justice. The Men in Blue, as they were known on this side of town. As he ran through the murky maze, he came across a gathering of homeless people gathered together for warmth. Their eyes opened at the sight of him, their faces a combination of fascination and wariness. "What's the rush, mate?" one of them said, his voice tinted with malice. "You've got the po-po hot on your tail." Alex hardly had time to answer, his breath ragged and his mind fixed on escaping. "Yeah, something like that," he said between breaths. The homeless man nodded knowingly, a sympathetic look in his eyes. "Well then, good luck to you. I hope you make it out of this mess alive." Alex nodded, his boots pulling him farther into the tangle of alleyways. Police radios buzzed in the distance, their voices drawing closer. He couldn't risk being caught since the repercussions would be disastrous. He noticed a fire escape ladder climbing up the side of a nearby building as he rounded yet another curve. He clambered onto the rusted metal rungs without hesitation, dragging himself upward with dwindling strength. His legs burned and his breath came out in heavy gasps, but he refused to succumb. Alex finally made it to the rooftop, his chest heaving as he searched the surroundings. He was protected from view for a brief while by the high structures that surround him. The city spread out before him, its lights a hypnotic display against the lowering sky. But he knew he couldn't stay there for long. The cops were uncompromising in their pursuit. He rushed over the rooftop with fresh zeal, his feet thumping against the pavement. The wind blew past him, pulling at his garments and pushing him onward. A helicopter's floodlight pierced the night sky as he approached the building's edge, throwing an unsettling glare on the streets below. The sound of an officer's voice came over the helicopter's speakers, sending shivers down Alex's spine. "Give up right now! There's no place to hide!" But Alex refused to give up his fight. He couldn't return to his previous life of hardship and despair. He made a leap of faith, flying through the air and thudding down on the next rooftop. His body hurt from the effort, but his soul was unbroken. The hunt continued, a seemingly never-ending dance between predator and prey. Alex's heart beat in his chest, his legs aching from exertion. He couldn't shake the impression that his pursuers were closing in on him, that his time was running out. As he rounded a corner, his legs about to give way, he came across an open window in a rundown building. He flung himself through the aperture, landing on a dirt floor. The room was poorly lit, with peeling wallpaper covering the walls, a remnant from a bygone period. A voice boomed around the room as he battled to restore his calm. "Well, well, well, what do we have here?" Alex turned around, his eyes widening at the sight of a bunch of people in the room. They were an odd bunch, their outward looks a monument to lives spent on the edge. "You seem to be in a hurry," said a woman with wild, matted hair, a mischievous smirk on her lips. "Are we evading the law?" she said, sultrily. As he met their stares, Alex's voice wavered. I didn't intend for this to happen. You see, I'm desperate. I'm just trying to get by." A grizzled guy in a ragged coat approached, his eyes filled with pity and distrust. "Desperation can drive a man to do things he never thought possible. But keep in mind, son, that every action has repercussions. What are you willing to do to make things right?" The weight of his crimes poured down on Alex once more, the remorse threatening to engulf him. His thoughts raced, looking for a solution, a means to redeem himself. He babbled. "Don't worry," the lady responded swiftly as she stepped forward with a grin. "We can help you flee the law." She went ahead and gave him a drink. "You seem tired," she said as she saw him take the cup because he was starving. When he felt the police had passed through, the grizzled guy with torn clothes watched him sip from the cup and settle back to relax. But after a minute or two, Alex felt his body refusing to move. "What did you give me to drink?" he said, attempting to move his legs. The woman laughed. "Well, it's one of my paralyzing potions." She proceeded to chuckle. "I'll give you anything," Alex pleaded for his life. "Please, don't kill me." "Kill you?" the lady responded, dismayed. "We are not Gothic followers, my darling," she added. "We do not offer human blood." "Then what do you want from me?" he asked, his gaze scanning the room for what was going on around him. She handed him a phone. "We're gonna call the cops on you for a good price," she chuckled as she turned to face the man beside her with a smile. "Bruno, have you called the police?" she softly asked, and he nodded with a smirk. Alex found himself trapped in a chilly, barely lit jail cell, and minutes turned into an eternity. The events that had occurred so quickly had left him bewildered, his mind unable to fathom the fateful twists and turns. He couldn't get rid of the idea that there was more to the story, that he'd walked into a web of intrigue well beyond his wildest dreams. As he sat on the tiny, uncomfortable bunk, considering his circumstances, the sound of footsteps echoing down the corridor jolted him out of his reverie. A guard escorted another prisoner in as the huge metal door groaned open. Max oozed confidence and mischief, a glint in his eyes hinting at a plethora of secrets. Alex's interest was piqued, and he couldn't help but be pulled to this fascinating being. Max gave him a sneaky look, as if he knew something Alex didn't. "Well, what have we got here?" Max chuckled, his gaze fixed on Alex from head to toe. "You're a newcomer, huh? How did you end up in this lovely establishment?" Alex paused for a time, unsure of how much to share. But something about Max's presence calmed him down, and he sensed a spark of trust between them. I got caught up in a moment of desperation," Alex said, his voice tinged with remorse and despair. "I made a terrible decision, and now I'm in this mess." Max's eyes shone with comprehension as he sat on the bunk next to Alex's. "Ah, my buddy, desperation. It's a strong incentive. Makes people do things they never believed they could. Believe me, I've been there." Max's lips curled into a melancholy smile, as if he was reminiscing about his former exploits. Alex moved in closer, curious about the charming stranger beside him. "You see, Alex, I've always had a knack for the art of persuasion," Max said, his voice lowering to a low, conspiratorial tone. "I've made a living by breaking the rules and outwitting those who believe they have the upper hand. I'm what you call a skilled con artist." Alex felt a mixture of amazement and adoration as he listened to Max's remarks. He was in a jail cell, enthralled by the tales of a great manipulator. He couldn't help but sense a peculiar kinship with Max, a kindred spirit formed of dire circumstances. You must have quite the stories to tell," Alex murmured, his voice tinged with enthusiasm. Max chuckled, a sly grin on his face. "You have no idea, my friend. The scams, the near misses, and the adrenaline-fueled escapes. I've been on the wrong side of the law more times than I can count." Alex and Max told story after story as the hours passed, their laughter booming off the frigid jail walls. Max's stories were enthralling, full of humor, charm, and surprising turns. Alex found himself clinging to every word, captivated by the life he had discovered. But as the night progressed and the feeling of friendship engulfed them, Alex couldn't help but wonder if there was more to Max than greeted the eye. He had heard the stories and savored in the thrill, but there was a part of him that warned him of the dangers of trusting a man of such trickery. Alex's thoughts raced as they sat in their jail cell, their laughing fading. He discovered an odd comrade, but he couldn't shake the niggling worry that lurked within him. In a world where trust was scarce, he had to tread carefully lest he become entangled in a web of lies that would unravel everything he held dear. Within the confines of their shared jail cell, days stretched into weeks, and weeks evolved into months. As time passed, Max became more than simply a buddy for Alex, helping him through the perilous realm of deception and manipulation. Alex refined his instincts and acquired the art of the scam under Max's careful eye. Their chats sparked with enthusiasm in the dimly lighted cage, their minds entwined in a ballet of plan and cunning. "Remember, Alex," Max said quietly, barely audible, "confidence is essential. Others will believe your falsehoods if you believe them." Alex nodded, taking in every word and action Max spoke. His journey from an ordinary man struggling to make ends meet to a masterful manipulator unfolded before his eyes. However, as the excitement of their training sessions rose, so did the stakes. Max leaned in one evening as they developed an elaborate plan to outwit their captors, his eyes gleaming with malice and passion. "Alex, let's speak about the long con now. It all comes down to patience and establishing your target's confidence. The possibilities are limitless once you have that. The two of them huddled together, their voices quiet, as they devised sophisticated strategies and wove complicated webs of deception. Max told instances of high-stakes con games that had duped even the most cautious people. But remember, Max cautioned, his voice laced with foreboding, the best con is one where no one suspects a thing. It's all about leaving no trace, no evidence. The art of vanishing into thin air. As the days grew shorter and their jailbreak plan took shape, Max and Alex delved deeper into the dark arts of deception. Their conversations crackled with anticipation, each word spoken with a shared understanding of the risks they were about to take. Max paced the cramped cell, his eyes blazing with determination. Alex, my friend, we need to be meticulous in our preparations. A successful jailbreak requires a masterful combination of skill, timing, and misdirection. Alex nodded, his heart pounding with a mix of excitement and fear. Oh, I'm ready, Max. I've learned so much from you, and I trust in your expertise. Let's make our escape. The plan was intricate, a delicate dance of strategy and audacity. They would exploit the prison's weakness, exploiting blind spots in the surveillance system, and forging necessary documents to ensure their smooth exit. Max's knowledge of the prison's inner workings proved invaluable, as he shared insider secrets that would give them the upper hand. As they practiced their techniques, honing their pickpocketing skills and perfecting their forgeries, their conversations buzzed with a shared excitement. You see, Alex, a well-executed scam is an art form, Max whispered, his eyes gleaming with mischief. We'll need to create a diversion, draw attention away from our true intentions. The key is to make them believe they're in control while we slip away undetected. Alex absorbed Max's words, his mind spinning with possibilities. The intricacies of their elaborate scams became clearer as they plotted the perfect sequence of events to carry out their jailbreak. Days turned into weeks, and the time for their daring escape grew closer. The night arrived, a shroud of darkness and opportunity. Alex and Max exchanged a final glance, their eyes filled with determination and trust. It's time to put everything we've learned into action, Max said, his voice steady and resolute. Remember, Alex, stay focused, trust in your instincts, and never waver. Our freedom awaits. With a nod, they began their meticulously planned scheme. Max employed his impeccable pickpocketing skills to obtain the necessary keys, while Alex set in motion the forged documents that would allow them to slip past the guards unnoticed. The prison corridors buzzed with activity, their diversion creating chaos and confusion. Guards rushed to handle the orchestrated distractions, oblivious to the two men inching closer to their long-awaited escape. "Hey, you morons!" The guards tried to settle the situation. "Stop acting like sissies and sit the shit down!" Heart pounding, sweat dripping down his brow, Alex felt a mixture of exhilaration and fear as they made their way through the labyrinthine halls. Each step brought them closer to freedom, but also heightened the risk of discovery. Finally, they reached the exit, a heavy metal door that stood between them and the outside world. Alex's hand trembled as he inserted the forged key, praying that it would work. With a click, the door swung open, revealing a moonlit night and the scent of freedom in the air. Max and Alex stepped into the darkness, their hearts soaring with triumph. As they made their way into the shadows, their whispers mingled with the night breeze. "Ah, we did it, Alex. We're free," Max breathed, his voice filled with a mixture of awe and satisfaction. "Yes, Max," Alex replied, a smile tugging at the corners of his lips. "Thanks to your guidance, we've made it. But our journey doesn't end here. We'll continue to navigate this thrilling world of deception and find our place." Alex transforms from an ordinary individual to a confident and skilled con artist. Chapter 3. A Cunning Con Man. Knock, knock. Jake Thompson's door hummed with life. "Who is it?" Jake said as he reached the door. "It's me, brother," Alex said, and Jake jumped. He ran to open the door, and when he saw his brother, he couldn't stop himself from shouting with joy. "Come in," he murmured, and as soon as Alex walked in, Max appeared behind him. "How are you, young man?" Max asked, holding a cigarette in his fingers. He handled himself so nicely, yet there was something about Max that Jake didn't like in that moment. "And who is this Alex?" Max said as he watched the man stroll into his house. "He is a friend I met in jail," Alex explained. "I'm thirsty," he muttered as he dashed to the kitchen to get a drink. Jake pursued him. "Alex! Alex!" Jake softly yelled after him. "Who the heck is that in my house?" Jake applied pressure. "I told you he's a friend I met in jail," he continued, taking a drink from the fridge. "What now, elder brother?" Jake said, crossing his arms. "You now bring ex-convicts to my house?" He tried so hard to let Alex express himself as he desired. Okay, Alex swallowed his milk, sending a tingle of relief down his spine. He exhaled with satisfaction the moment he drank the cool, refreshing substance that soothed his insides. "He assisted me in escaping from prison." Jake's eyes widened in wrath and terror. "Are you crazy, brother?" he said. "Do you realize what you've done?" he continued. "Don't be concerned, brother," he said. "I've got everything under control." Jake appreciated and accepted his brother's choice of actions and could not criticize it. He merely groaned in bemusement as he got some food from his refrigerator to present to his new companion. As the days passed, he felt a wave of relief rush over him, knowing that Alex had fled the walls of the jail. However, his concern for his brother's well-being, as well as the warning words he held in his heart, threatened to damper his delight. One afternoon, Jake had to face his brother and tell him what bothered him so. "Alex," Jake said, his voice laced with terror and relief. "I can't believe you made it out. I'm delighted you're free, but I have to warn you about something." Alex, his eyes glittering with the excitement of his newfound independence, gazed at Jake with a mix of wonder and impatience. "What is it, Jake? Why do you seem so concerned? I thought you were happy now that I'm with you." Jake's forehead wrinkled as he battled to find the perfect words, his voice concerned. "I'm happy, Alex. I honestly am. But I've seen how you've been drawn to Max, your new pal in prison. I have a sense he's a negative influence and he may take you down a disastrous path." Alex's eyes flashed with defiance as he ignored Jake's warning. "You don't understand, Jake. Max has taught me things and showed me a world beyond anything we've ever known. He's given me a meaning and a sense of belonging." Jake's face tightened as he moved closer to his brother, his words urgent. "Alex, I'm not out to undermine your newfound happiness, but I've seen the darkness that surrounds Max, the risks he takes, and the possible danger that comes with his lifestyle. I don't want you to get caught up in it." Alex's jaw clenched as he stood firm, his voice defiant. "You're constantly trying to protect me, Jake, but perhaps I need to find things out for myself. Max believes in me, and I believe in him. We can forge our own way." "But," Jake tried to go on, "we are going to be very rich soon," Alex continued. "Just watch and you'll see how things turn out." Jake kept silent. He felt there was nothing that could dissuade Alex at this point. The target, Sarah Dawson, a woman of breathtaking beauty and charismatic charm, possessed a magnetic allure that could captivate anyone who crossed her path. With her lustrous ebony locks cascading down her shoulders and eyes that sparkled like polished sapphires, she exuded a confidence and sophistication that drew people in. Sarah's radiant smile could disarm even the most hardened individuals, while her graceful demeanor commanded attention and respect. It was within this aura of enchantment that Alex and Max Reynolds, a duo skilled in the art of manipulation, set their sights on Sarah and her substantial inheritance. They saw in her a perfect target, a woman driven by ambition and a desire for success. With their silver tongues and well-rehearsed deceit, they orchestrated an elaborate scheme that preyed upon her dreams and aspirations. "Well, if the deal is what you say it is, then I'm interested, Mr. Dumbbell," she replied to Alex, who changed his identity unknowingly to her. "Let's meet at one of my best restaurants," she continued with excitement. "I'll pay for dinner." "Then we have a deal then, madame," Alex added and hung up the phone. The minute he hung up the phone, he quickly gave Max a high five for their win, and they had a little celebration that evening. In an upscale restaurant, bathed in the soft glow of candlelight, Alex and Max engaged Sarah in conversation, expertly playing on her vulnerabilities and aspirations. Their words were carefully chosen, crafted to evoke trust and paint a vivid picture of prosperity. With each passing moment, Sarah became more enamored by their persuasions, convinced that their proposition to sell her the renowned Drake Hotel at Barclay Street for the seemingly reasonable price of $100 million was an opportunity she couldn't afford to miss. As the deal was finalized, Sarah's excitement knew no bounds. She envisioned herself as the proud owner of the illustrious hotel, her name forever associated with its grandeur. The conversations between the trio danced with promises of wealth and success, their voices dripping with false sincerity and calculated charm. However, as the days turned into weeks and the reality of the scam began to unravel, Sarah's world came crashing down around her. The facade meticulously constructed by Alex and Max shattered, revealing the depths of their deception. It was a devastating blow, the realization that she had been conned, her dreams shattered by their cunning schemes. "Those bastards!" she screamed in agony, destroying all items she saw before her. "They're not going to escape my rage!" she cried. Fueled by a sense of betrayal and a desire for justice, Sarah reported the incident to the police, determined to bring these thieves to justice and reclaim what was rightfully hers. The authorities recognized the complexity of the case and assigned the tenacious and resourceful Detective Angela Carter to lead the investigation. Detective Carter, a seasoned investigator known for her unwavering resolve, dove headfirst into the intricate web of lies and deceit. Her pursuit of the truth was relentless, meticulously piecing together the puzzle of the con that had ensnared Sarah. The conversations she had with witnesses and informants were laced with urgency and determination, each revelation intensifying the suspense of the investigation. "Yes," one informant said as she saw the roughly drawn picture handed her by the detective. "I've seen this one," she continued. "He often buys rye bread at that corner street there," she said as she arranged her wares. "An odd bunch, that fellow," she said. "He's always creeping me out." Detective Carter watched Max's picture. "Thank you for the information," the detective said and left. Late one evening, as they huddled in their dimly lit hideout in Jake's house, Alex couldn't suppress the nagging doubts that tugged at his conscience. The events of their latest con weighed heavily on his mind, and he found himself questioning the choices he had made. Leaning against a worn-out table, Alex turned to Max, his expression etched with a mix of contemplation and concern. "Max, I can't help but wonder about what we're doing," he began, his voice tinged with uncertainty. "Are we really making a difference, or are we just causing more harm?" Max, ever the confident and experienced con artist, glanced at Alex, his eyes narrowing slightly. "Alex, my friend, we're living in a dog-eat-dog world," he replied, his tone laced with a hint of cynicism. "We do what we need to survive, to make a living. It's not our fault if people fall for our tricks." "But Max," Alex countered, his voice filled with genuine concern, "we're taking advantage of people's trust, their vulnerabilities. We're manipulating their dreams and aspirations for our own gain. Is this really the path we want to continue down?" Max let out a sigh, his eyes searching Alex's face for understanding. "Look, Alex, I get it. This life isn't for everyone," he admitted, his voice softening. "But we have our reasons, our own struggles that led us here. It's survival of the fittest out there, and we're just trying to carve out a place for ourselves. Alex's brow furrowed as he mulled over Max's words. He couldn't deny the truth in what his partner said, but deep down, a nagging sense of morality continued to eat at him. I don't know, Max, he finally replied, his voice filled with a mixture of apprehension and determination. I can't shake the feeling that there must be a way to use our skills for something more meaningful. Max regarded Alex with a mixture of curiosity and concern, realizing that his friend was on the precipice of a significant internal struggle. He reached out and placed a hand on Alex's shoulder. Listen, Alex, he said, his voice earnest. I understand your doubts. Maybe it's time we reevaluate our choices and consider a different path. But remember, this world isn't forgiving. It's a constant battle, and we need to be prepared to face the consequences. Chapter 4: The High-Stakes Game. As Alex's abilities and reputation as a con artist developed, word of his name reached the ears of Victor Ramirez, an infamous and brutal criminal syndicate boss. Ramirez, known for his iron hold on the underworld and tendency for working in the shadows, saw potential in Alex's cleverness and wanted to engage him in a high-stakes venture that offered tremendous fortune but carried major dangers. A mysterious figure came from the shadows one evening as Alex traveled through the poorly lighted streets, his thoughts burdened down by the decisions he had made. It was Ramirez, his dominating presence commanding attention. Alex, my boy, Ramirez said, his voice low and gravelly, sending shivers down Alex's spine. I've heard wonderful things about you. Your abilities are excellent, and I am certain that you have what it takes to join my group. Alex's eyes widened with a mixture of anxiety and interest as he was caught off guard by the unexpected meeting. He was fully aware of Ramirez's syndicate's strength and influence, as well as the hazards associated with such a connection. What do you want from me? Alex inquired, his voice tinged with trepidation and fascination. Ramirez's lips twisted into a predatory grin, his piercing stare fixed on Alex's. I have a job, my boy. One that promises riches beyond your wildest dreams, he added, his voice oozing with enticement. But make no mistake, it will not be easy, and the risks are high. Are you willing to walk the dark path and face the consequences? Alex's emotions were jumbled. The attraction of more enormous riches and power drew him in, but he was also aware of the evil that awaited him in Ramirez's realm. He remembered his misgivings and moral battles, as well as the gnawing need for atonement in his spirit. Alex took a long breath and gathered his strength. I appreciate the offer, Ramirez, but I've come to realize that there's more to life than deception and illusion, he said calmly. I can't keep perpetrating this life of deceit. I'm ready to leave. Ramirez's eyes narrowed, his face a combination of dismay and calculating malice. You understand the reach of my organization, Alex, he said coldly. There are consequences for those who dare to turn down my offer. Alex's face glowed with terror. As Ramirez continued to push his offer to Alex, the weight of the decisions pressed heavily upon him. Aware of the dangers that awaited him if he declined, Alex found himself unable to outright refuse. Ramirez, Alex pleaded, his voice tinged with desperation. This is a big decision. Can you give me some time to think it over? Ramirez's face hardened, his eyes narrowing with a mix of impatience and suspicion. Time is a luxury, Alex, he replied, his tone cold and unwavering. But know that opportunities like this don't come knocking twice. Choose wisely. Alex swallowed hard, his mind racing as he considered the consequences of his decision. He knew that aligning himself with Ramirez's syndicate meant surrendering a part of his soul to the darkness, but he also understood the power and protection it offered. Ramirez, I understand the risks involved, Alex said, his voice steady despite the turmoil within. Give me 24 hours. I need that time to weigh my options and come to a decision." A flicker of curiosity danced across Ramirez's face, his piercing gaze studying Alex intently. After a brief pause, he nodded, his voice carrying a hint of begrudging approval. "Very well," he relented. 24 hours. Don't keep me waiting, Alex. I expect your answer." With that, Ramirez disappeared into the shadows once more, leaving Alex alone with the weight of his decision. As the seconds ticked away, Alex knew that the path he chose would shape his destiny, for better or worse. He vowed to use the time he had been given wisely, seeking solace in the solitude of contemplation as he grappled with the implications of aligning himself with the ruthless crime syndicate. Chapter 5: The Twist and Redemption. As Alex descended deeper into the perilous realm of the crime organization, he found a hidden objective that sent shivers down his spine. He recognized his life was in great danger, ensnared in a web of deception and betrayal. He listened to his brother Jake, who advised him to see a well-known therapist and former scam artist. And he did exactly that, seeking consolation in the unexpected company of Evelyn Adams, a reformed con artist turned counselor. Alex's gaze met Evelyn's in a dimly lit cafe that Evelyn owned and used as a sort of work center. He could sense the knowledge and compassion that exuded from her. He approached her with caution, his voice full of vulnerability and resolve. "Evelyn, I've heard about your story and transformation," Alex continued, his voice slightly wavering. "I'm in a similar situation, trapped in a world I didn't want to be a part of. I require your assistance." Evelyn looked at Alex with empathy and compassion. She was well aware of his hardships and personal strife. "Sit, Alex," Evelyn urged, motioning to the unoccupied chair opposite her. "Tell me your story. Let's see if we can discover a method to set you free." Evelyn became a guiding light for Alex during countless chats and counseling sessions, assisting him in navigating the perilous seas of his own conscience. She shared her own sorrow and redemption stories, giving him the tools he needed to confront his past and establish a new path. But as Alex gained insight and developed preparations to reveal the crime syndicate's underlying objective, he realized he would confront tough opponents, including his former mentor, Max. The information weighed heavily on him since he was aware of the dangers involved and the chance of losing all he valued. "Are you planning to leave everything?" Max pointed to the splendor in which they now resided. "Yes," Alex confirmed. "I have no place in this world," he continued, "and I don't want to be here. Ever. You know, Victor, the boss, would be really angry if he finds out you're leaving him," Max stated as he inhaled a smoke at him while smiling. "Tell him to take a hike." Alex then vanished. "You will die for this, Alex," Max said, but Alex ignored his warnings and rushed out of the gorgeous mansion where they both lived. But tragedy happened at a heart-stopping moment when Alex's brother, Jake, became inadvertently entangled in the deadly game he was playing. Jake was slain by a gunshot in a terrible turn of events. One of Victor's boys was sent to assassinate Jake while he was doing his laundry. Alex's worldview was eternally affected as a result of this. Loss ripped a hole in his heart, igniting a burning yearning for justice and retribution. Detective Angela Carter arrived on the scene as the inquiry progressed, her bright intellect and unyielding drive making her a powerful ally. She questioned Alex, peeling back the layers of his complicity while also seeing the possibility of atonement inside him. She knew this was the man she'd been seeking for, a man who duped Lady Dawson, who wanted blood. Carter, on the other hand, intended to profit off Alex's distress. "Alex, you have a choice," Detective Carter replied, her voice strong yet tinted with optimism. "I can offer you a chance at redemption if you help us expose the perpetrators of the mayhem that has gripped this city. Help us bring them down, and we'll set you free from the chains of your crimes." Alex embraced the opportunity, determined to respect his brother's legacy and seek forgiveness. Using his newly gained abilities and expertise, He carefully exposed Max and the whole crime syndicate, unraveling their web of lies. The crime syndicate disintegrated days later. Max was imprisoned, and Victor Ramirez fled to Cuba. However, as Alex stood in his room, surrounded by sorrow, the weight of his actions and the loss of his beloved brother crept deep into his psyche. Jake's death had a lasting impact on him, reminding him of the consequences of his actions. As Alex stared at his own image in the mirror, he determined to keep Jake's memories with him forever, seeking to respect his brother's spirit via a life of integrity and redemption. And, with Detective Carter's assurance of a second opportunity, he took the first steps towards a future free of shadows, where he might rebuild his life and find peace in the light of atonement. He runs across Sarah Dawson again a few weeks later. They meet in a restaurant. "Well, I'd let the case I have against you die," she explained. "But I'm glad you crumbled those brutes you have been tormenting this side of town," she added casually, while Detective Carter and Evelyn, his mentor and friend, gazed on. "Well," she remarked as she rose up and took her handbag off the table. "I'll have to leave," she said as she looked at him. "I just hope you don't fall back into your dirt." "Thank you very much, ma'am," he said. "Well, you're a free man," Detective Carter remarked, her eyes beaming with real joy. "Congratulations." Alex managed an appreciative grin and nod. It had been a long struggle, but justice had finally triumphed. As Detective Carter bade her farewell and left, Alex found himself alone with Evelyn, the one person who had remained with him throughout the experience. Evelyn looked up at him, her hazel eyes brimming with relief and expectation. "Well, Mr. Alex," she remarked cheerfully, her voice tinted with excitement. "I guess this is a new chapter in your life, a chance to move forward and embrace the future." His heart hurt with a bittersweet feeling. He knew this was a happy occasion, but his thoughts turned to his adored brother, whose life had been brutally cut short owing to the manipulations of Victor, the merciless criminal syndicate boss. It was a reminder of the costs of greed and the irreplaceable loss it may wreak. But in the middle of his grief, Alex found strength. He straightened his back, resolve in his eyes. "I'll keep my brother's legacy alive forever," he thought, his voice solid with confidence. "I will honor his memory by striving for a better world where no one else has to suffer at the hands of such darkness." They exited the restaurant, Evelyn at his side, walking into the unknown yet embracing it with unflinching hope. Alex knew that his brother's spirit would lead him as they moved forward hand in hand, a continual source of strength and inspiration. The end. You have just listened to The Urban Con Artist, The Best of Your Knowledge, written by Jason Stewart, narrated by Grant Benker. The end.